do we manage the protein transition? Which food components can provably boost your immune system? What's the best way to validate health claims for food and food components? Listen to our food and health experts discuss the biggest questions facing the food, nutraceutical, and food ingredient industries today. Welcome to NIZO Talks Food and Health.
Dietary fiber plays a key role in human health. Fibre-rich foods and prebiotics can help promote gut health and benefit the gut microbiota, for instance. Adding fiber to food and ingredients can just help increase their attractiveness to consumers and differentiate them in a competitive market. Petra Scholtens, Project Leader Nutrition and Health at NIZO, explains how in vitro models and human trials supported by Bioinformatics can help manufacturers identify and demonstrate the health benefits of dietary fibers. Dietary fiber play a big role in human health, and fiber-rich foods and prebiotics again in gut health. There are many ways to show the benefits of a fiber and fiber-rich food. Today I will be talking to Petra Scholtens, Project Leader Health and Nutrition at NIZO. Petra, welcome.
Nice to be here.
So dietary fibers at the center of the talk today.
Yeah.
Could you start with explaining what actually is a dietary fiber and why is it important in the human diet?
Yeah. Well, a dietary fiber actually is that part of the diet that is not digested in the gastrointestinal tract. So you consume it with your diet and it enters in the gut, undigested. And there it has several health benefits. It's really a crucial element in your diet. You have several types of dietary fibers in the diet. There are a lot of different ones, but it's also for infants very important because human milk also contains human milk oligosaccharides, which is also a dietary fiber.
So actually you say it's beneficial for all age groups? Is that what?
Yeah. So even for infants and across the lifespan, you need dietary fiber.
So there are also many prebiotics, and you say it's indigestible. Could you say a little bit what prebiotics are?
Yeah. So what I just mentioned is that the dietary fiber is not digested; it enters in the gut. In the gut, there are a lot of bacteria present as well, so intestinal microbiota. And part of the fiber can be degraded by the bacteria in the intestinal microbiota. So part of it will just be excreted with your feces, and part of it will be used by the bacteria. And you have a lot of different types of fibers, but you also have a lot of different types of bacteria. And each bacterium has a specific set of enzymes that can degrade the fiber. And then by the degradation, short-chain fatty acids will be produced, for instance, but also you can shift the bacteria in the gut. So you have beneficial bacteria there. You also have potentially pathogenic bacteria there. And by changing the type of fiber that you eat, you can, for instance, increase the number of beneficial bacteria and decrease the potential pathogenic bacteria. And that can have certain health benefits.
Why is human being not able to digest the fibers?
Yeah, we don't have the enzymes that are needed. So we have enzymes to break down carbohydrates, we have enzymes to break down proteins, etc. But fibers are more complex, and we don't have the enzymes that are needed to break down the fibers. And bacteria do have that. And it's also interesting to see what I mentioned. You have a lot of different types of bacteria. They also work together. So you have bacteria that start with a certain type of fiber. They degrade it partially. And then you have other types of bacteria that can work further on that fiber. And then it's completely degraded. And bacteria grow and the fiber is gone.
So basically they work together.
Yeah, they work together. Yeah. And if you then have a prebiotic, because that was your question, it's a substrate, it's a fiber that is selectively stimulated. So it only works with one type of bacteria, one or two types of bacteria, and it has a health benefit. So it doesn't, some bacteria are, some fibers are degraded by a lot of different bacteria, but prebiotics are selectively used by certain bacteria. For instance, inulin, FOS, fructooligosaccharides, galacto-oligosaccharides are selectively stimulated by bifidobacteria, for instance.
Okay. So if you stand in the shoes of a food manufacturer, what does a manufacturer really need to make a claim about a product or an ingredient containing a fiber?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because you can't just make claims on a product. You need to comply to legislation for that, and you actually have two types of claims that you can make. One is the nutrition claim, and the second one is the health claim. Well, nutrition claims don't say anything about the health benefits, so they only focus on what is in the product. For instance, for fiber, you can make a claim high in fiber, only if the product has at least 6 grams per 100 gram fiber in it.
Yeah.
So that's nutrition claims. It doesn't say anything about the health benefit. You also have the health claims, and that's even more complicated because you can't just make the claim. You need to have scientific evidence to demonstrate that the benefit is there. And you have the European Food Safety Authority who is assessing those claims. You need to submit a dossier with all the information that is there, obtained by clinical trials, for instance. You have to have mechanistic effects, and based on that, they assess whether you can make the claim or not. And I know that a lot of claims have been submitted, so a lot of manufacturers have submitted health claims, and many of them have not been authorized to be used on the product. For fiber, there are some. So, for instance, there is a claim for arabinoxylans for lowering postprandial blood glucose, but also wheat bran or oat grains for increasing fecal bulk. So, those are approved health claims.
Yeah. So you say a lot is still in dossiers and it's difficult to come to the level of a claim. Yeah. Could you explain a bit what type of tests or studies can be used to evaluate potential health benefits?
Yeah, there are a lot. You have a lot of different types of fibers, so it's not that you can only do one test and you know what it does. So you can do it in steps. So, for instance, you can start with an in vitro test. Then you can have a cost-efficient way of screening a lot of different types of fibers. And then you put it in a static model. You see what happens, what types of bacteria are stimulated, what types of short-chain fatty acids are stimulated. And based on that, you can already make a selection of interesting fibers. As a next step, or as another step, you can also look into more compartmentalized assays. And there you have a more physiological approach, because then you mimic the passage through the gastrointestinal tract. And you can look at the same thing, so the stimulation of bacteria, but also a production of short-chain fatty acids, for instance. But still, it's also not like you do it in a human. It's still in vitro screening. Interestingly, you can also combine in vitro methods. So in your gastrointestinal tract, fiber will be digested, or it will be past the digestive tract and then enter in the gut. So you can combine two types of assays. For instance, start with the pre-digestion, a digestion phase. So you mimic the first part of the digestive tract, and then you use that, what the result for the fermentation model, for instance. And you can also combine the fermentation model with, for instance, cell assays, where you look at more physiological effects. So what does the fiber do to the cell barrier integrity, for instance?
So actually, so the in vitro part is clever, combining a lot of different types of assays based on what you expect from a fiber.
Yeah.
But then the next step is the health effect, what you said.
Yeah.
So how do you test for health effects of dietary fibers in clinical trials?
Yeah, of course, the in vitro trials don't say anything about the human body, because in the body a lot happens. Enzymes are produced, or juices are added, and you need the human effect to know what really happens. If you want to do a clinical trial, you can't do it with 10 types of fibers, because you need human subjects to do the study. If you would study 10 types of fibers, you would need 10 groups of subjects to show the benefit. So you would only start with that if you only have 1 or 2 interesting fibers on top of mind. And then you compare it to a product that doesn't contain the fiber. And then you can look into, what happens in subjects that use the fiber and subjects that don't use the fiber. And you can still look at the composition of the microbiota, so the bacteria that are there. You can also look at the short-chain fatty acids, similar to what you would do in an in vitro study. But you can also look beyond that. So you could also look into potential health benefits, like does it affect the immune system? Does it have an effect on transit time? Or does it have an effect on blood glucose? So that's what you do in a clinical trial.
In a clinical trial.
Yeah.
So you also touched upon the microbiota, and so to get more insight into that, bioinformatics is an important thing. Can you explain a bit about what what bioinformatics role play in these trials?
Yeah. Well, if you look in your stools after a clinical trial or after in vitro trial, there's a lot of DNA there. So you use DNA sequencing methods to see what is there. But it's not only bacterial DNA, it also has your cell DNA or fungal DNA, etc. And with the bioinformatics, you can distinguish what is there. So you can see what types of species are there, but you can also look into functional benefits. So if the DNA also has transcription of a certain benefit, you could also see that with the bioinformatics approach. So that's really looking into what is there.
Yeah.
But it's also really helpful to visualize. So you have so many different things that you have as a result. But with the bioinformatics, you get a nice visualization of what is there. So it's a really important part of our project.
So to get so much data and to see what the outcome is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Petra, for this nice explanation.
Thanks for being here.
This was NIZO Talks Food and Health, and if you want to know more, please check out our website.